Why is starting a business in Europe so difficult? I mean, Europe has a rich history of innovation, but in recent decades, it's been struggling to create new groundbreaking companies. While countries like the United States continue to churn out tech giants and industry leaders, Europe seems to be lagging behind. So, why is it so difficult, even though there is still an entrepreneurial ambition alive in Europe? Now, some people might point out Europe's history or infrastructure or demographics, but the real issue actually runs a lot deeper. The truth is, Europe's system, while well-intentioned, actively discourages entrepreneurship. In contrast to the US, where predominantly free markets, competition, and risk-taking are encouraged, Europe is held back by high taxes, heavy regulation, and a welfare state that is, quite frankly, Byzantine. And that's one of the biggest obstacles, the welfare state itself. In Europe, the government provides generous social benefits from subsidized healthcare and education to unemployment support and pensions. And while this may create a strong safety net for employees, it reduces the incentive for people to start businesses because, after all, it's expensive. But even if you want to start a business, high taxes are going to make it challenging to grow. In some European countries, up to 2/3 of an employee's income is taxed away, making it extremely difficult to hire anyone. And the more you want to expand, the more costly this becomes, making scaling a business nearly impossible. But even if you do manage to start the business, and even if you do manage to hire enough employees for it, there's a mountain of red tape that awaits you. The EU prides itself on strictly regulating everything from the internet to water bottles. Individually, these rules are supposed to protect consumers and the environment, but when taken together, they make it all but impossible to run a business in Europe. Over time, this has created a system where the US innovates and the EU simply regulates. As a result, Europe's economy has experienced almost zero growth since 2008, compared to the US, which has actually increased exponentially. But can anything be done to fix this? Sure, some countries are beginning to recognize the problem and are slowly taking steps to address Europe's sluggish economy. But so far, these efforts have been few and far between and largely isolated to certain countries. To truly ignite innovation, Europe is going to need to rediscover the principles that made it rich in the first place and continue to make the US an economic powerhouse today. That means fewer regulations, lower taxes, and a system that actively rewards risk takers rather than punishing them. As Europe discovered hundreds of years ago, when people are free to innovate without being bogged down by their own government, they can create extraordinary things and opportunities, not just for themselves, but for everybody. The only question is, will the EU ever let that happen again?